from students across batches who are interested in pursuing higher studies abroad. Today's session is designed to give you first-hand insights into pursuing master's and MBA programs at some of the world's leading universities. Our speakers, all proud BITS alumni, are currently studying at institutions such as Carnegie Mellon University (CMU), UW Madison, UCLA, and Kellogg School of Management. They'll be sharing their journeys, application strategies, building tips, and key lessons from their experiences. We hope that through this session, you'll gain clarity on how to build your profile, approach applications strategically, and navigate your own higher studies journey. Before we begin, a quick request to everyone. You may submit your questions through a Google Form link which will be shared in the chat. We'll then address them during the Q&A session at the end. So, without any further delay, let us begin. Um, our first speaker today is Mr. Anshuman Mishra. Anshuman is currently pursuing his Masters of Science in Information Systems at Carnegie Mellon University, one of the top ranked programs globally in the field of technology and information systems. Today, he'll be sharing his journey from Pilani to CMU, including how he built his profile, prepared his applications, and navigated the admission process. And further, please join me in welcoming Anshuman.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Ishan. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, Anshuman, you are.
Oh, perfect. Cool. Um, Glad to be here with all the Bitsians. I think once we leave the college, we actually realize how much this tag and this community matters. I have friends from all the different colleges, tier one institutes like most of the IITs, NITs, and others. But I think the bonding that Bitsians have, I think that's rare. And a lot of Bitsians have helped me throughout my journey. And okay, I'll share my screen. I have made a quick presentation, and I promise you guys, it's not made with AI. It might be wrong. There might be some issues, but I haven't used AI for that. Um, Tell me if you guys can see my screen. I'll just share my screen once. Is my screen visible?
Yes, it's visible.
Okay, perfect. Cool. Okay, so I'll start. Okay, so first of all, thank you all for being here. I think I met a lot of seniors during my BITS journey, which helped me a lot throughout. And that's why I think I'm half the person I am because of BITS and the people I met there. So here's my journey. I promise you there's no AI here. It's my personal journey. I think you can extract a lot of insights from, let's say, talking to Claude or GPT, but I'm here to talk you through my personal experiences, which are extremely specific. And I hope all of you can gain something from it. Cool. So let's start. Okay, this is my title from BITS to CMU, but I had an alternate title as well, which was, is the slide? It was from bits to pits. So I think it's not the most catchy one, but we have a clock tower in bits, and CMU is in Pittsburgh. We have a clock tower here too. This was the rejected title that I had. And yeah, I'll just walk you through my journey. And if you have any questions, you can just ask me that at any point. Okay. So I think a couple of years back, at this point, you might be thinking that I have everything sorted. I wasn't as uncertain as you guys are, and something like that. But trust me, when I was in BITS, when I was in my first, second, third year, I did not know a lot of things. And I think clarity comes with action. And initially, I was at your place once, and that's the key message here. And I did my degree in electronics and instrumentation, and as soon as I landed into BITS, all of my seniors told me कि भाई ENI है first year में मस्ती कर ले, उसके बाद you won't get any time, right? But the problem is I never really liked the syllabus of ENI. It wasn't really working for me. And at some point, just like you guys, I did not have a clarity about the career direction I want to take, how I want to move forward in my life. But sooner or later, I think discovered that I started to like the courses in computer science and economics. And I think that was the foundation. And I'll walk you through my journey. And but I'll also tell you that your branch is not your identity, neither your GPA is. I know people who were from civil or other branches who were from pharma. They did not have the best CGs, but they they had a way around things. They knew how to sell, they knew how to talk. And those people are working in the biggest Ps and VCs you can think of. So I'll just start with a couple of headliners. Be curious. Curiosity compounds, trust me. And I think when you follow what you really like, you get more curious and you'll certainly reap rewards from it. It's important to gain depth in the courses that you are taking. If you are taking any elective, any Opel or Dell, make sure that you actually like that subject and you actually want to work in that field. If neither works, just go there to explore things. Take as many different courses as you can and find what really energizes you, because that compounds in future. That will really help you in your life. So, okay, I'll start with my life at BITS. Of course, like most of us, we had our engineering days and finally we got our freedom, we got our victory, we got our success. We were at BITS. But we had the zero attendance policy. I hope it's still there. Is it?
It's there in some of the branches, but like it's surprise quizzes and like some branches
Hmm.
have attendance requirements.
I think they have changed that, but during my time, it was a flat zero attendance policy. So we started enjoying a little too much. Daily Ank walks became a thing, and grades start taking a hit. Right now, again, I'll reiterate this point because um, if you hear me right now, what I'm doing, what I'm planning to do, what offers do I have, you'll think that I was sorted at your age, but I wasn't. And that's the thing. In my first year, I wasn't doing really well with my grades. I was taking a lot of bad advantage of zero attendance policy, and it wasn't working out well. And in my second year, a senior who is again working in US here, I think he's in Georgia Tech. I'm constantly in touch with her. Uh, but I met her in institutional canteen, IC as we call it. And we were having lunch and I was having a tough time at BITS. And I talked to her and she guided me a lot. And that's part of the reason why I agreed to do this talk, because I think a mentor helped me and it changed my life in a lot of ways. And I hope that in some way or form, I can be that mentor to you. And again, so that senior helped me to get back on track. I doubled down on courses that I loved. And I promised myself that my SGPA would always be on an upward trajectory, which did. And I think that's another most important thing that I learned in BITS, that if you're making promises to yourself, make sure you stick to it. Because I think you feel a certain level of confidence when you do that and you look at yourself in a certain way. Moving on. In third year, I started building good relationships with my professors. We started some research projects. I worked with them and I started getting A's in subjects I loved. In all the CS courses, I had A and A minus, and I think most of you are at BITS, so you know that getting an A is not easy there, as compared to other colleges, right? And then Ang trips was still a thing, but I learned the core skill of compartmentalization. So when you are out to study, just study hard. When you are out with your friends, just party hard. I think that's a mantra that I adopted in BITS early on. And in the fourth year, I think COVID hit. It was unfortunate. The hiring slowed down substantially, but I still secured a good internship. And surprisingly, it was a Silicon Valley company which was founded by a Bitsian. And I worked with them, and it was amazing. The work was amazing. It was a company called Petasense, built industrial IoT products. But again, I think that's a recurring theme in my life. A lot of Bitsians have helped me through the journey, and they'll help you too. So I would always advise you to stay connected to your professors, stay connected to your seniors, because it does help. And then, unluckily, our batch did not have a convocation. We did not have a Senti Sim. So after everything was sorted, we could not hang out at Pizzeria and have beers, but it's okay. Okay. And after BITS, I joined Tata AIG. And I joined in a very specific team called Innovation Labs. And then I was working with the smartest people I knew. So, is anyone aware of the Angular framework? I think it's pretty popular. Have you guys heard of it?
Yes, they. It's like a framework. Most of them know about it.
Perfect. And the thing is, the person who wrote this book about the Angular framework, the person who built this book, who built this framework and wrote this book, was working with me. And again, I think I found a person who would be a mentor to me. He was one of the people who wrote me an LOR, and that essentially helped me a lot during my application processes as well. And then at certain point, you realize that the people you surround with, the mentors you choose, the peers you choose, they shape your life in a lot of ways that you cannot think of. And then I think, as most of us do, I was at the crossroads. I did not know that whether I should go for MS or MBA. But, and of course, this topic is open for discussion. I think there are people after me who are doing MBA, they'll talk about MBA. But my hypothesis was that as engineers, like math and technology are our trump cards. And I went to a BITSA event in Mumbai, and a lot of seniors told me who had transitioned out of tech that transitioning out of tech is much easier than transitioning back in. So I wanted to be in tech because I feel these are exciting times. Um, I could be wrong, but I feel that this could be the dot com bubble of our era. And there's a lot to gain on the table. And again, after MS, maybe I would move forward and I might do my MBA at some point, because I think um, I read a lot about what Naval writes, and as he has famously quoted, learn to sell and learn to build, and if you can do both, you'll be unstoppable. And the, like again, there's a lot of subjectivity. In MS, you gain a lot of technical depth. The MBA has a lot of breadth, range, as we call it. There's a very famous book which McKinsey gives to all of its consultants called Range, which talks about how having knowledge about a lot of skill sets helps you a lot in life. And for technical depth, we have books like The Outliers, written by Malcolm Gladwell, which talks about the 10,000 hour rule. But I feel tech builds hard leverage. It's easier to move into business later. A lot of people who are SWEs in Amazon right now, they get converted to technical product managers and they go into leadership positions. So I feel MS felt like a natural path to me, but I was also considering MBA, like most of you might be doing. But at the end of the day, I'll say it depends on which college you go to, which college you get, and what you want to do in life. There's no right answer here. And then again, why tech? Why MS? Because I strongly feel this could be a dot. Um, there's a typo here, but this could be a dot com era of our time. AI is reshaping every industry. If you look closely, the agents, the chips, the infra, the compute, everything is being rebuilt to for this new world. And a lot of companies are hiring for that. And if you can build your profile that way, trust me, you'll build a really strong profile which recruiters will love. And yeah, there's a lot to gain on the table. And builders who have deep expertise have asymmetric upside in today's time. Okay, coming on, how I structured my MS application. So first, what's starting with GRE. I know GRE is optional for a lot of colleges, but I'll say that you should give GRE. And why do I say that? Because I think, as compared to other colleges, when you compare yourself to your peers who will be applying for the same MS programs, BITS has a harsher grading system. There are colleges which have like a median GP of 9 or 8.5. BITS is not that college. But when you have a good GRE score to back your academics, it tells colleges that you are a good applicant. It strengthens your profile. And trust me, GRE is pretty easy. Again, the second point is stay in touch with your professors. It really helps. In college, initially, I think for the first 2 years, I had a really transactional relationship with my professors. But eventually, I realized that professors have a lot to give. If you stay connected with them, they'll write strong LORs for you, which will really help in your application process. And trust me, after maybe this talk, you'll just go back to your usual life. You'll say, okay, professors, I don't care enough about professors. I want to chill with my friends. But give certain time to your professors, to your courses. It will really help. And again, make your SOP authentic and focused. We'll talk more about it as you move on. And again, as I said, as Bitsians, the GRE should not be a bottleneck. Just prepare for 3-4 weeks. It is pretty easy. You'll score 170 in quant. That's that's super simple. Maybe the English part would be a little bit harder for a couple of you, but I think it's not that much of effort. So just get it out of the way, and then move on to the next thing, which are LORs. And again, I'll come back to professors because they are the long term leverage. I did not have the best GPA in my batch, but my professors and my mentors wrote me really strong letters of recommendations, which actually helped me a lot in my applications. And these things matter more than you think. And these things have asymmetric ROI. You can give a couple of hours and you can reap a lot of benefits out of them. So just um, stick to it. These are basics. It won't take long. I won't go uh, I won't go and cover all the bullet points because I think all of these are pretty obvious, and I don't want this lecture to be very preachy in that way. Again, when you're writing a SOP, make sure you write a good SOP story, not a sob story. And the thing is, people just index on, okay, this happened in my childhood. I wanted to be an engineer when I was 6 years old. Everyone knows that bullshit. No one likes that, right? So, what makes a killer SOP? Start with a technical hook. Start about maybe. So, my hook was how certain courses in bits drew me towards computer science and computer engineering, and it and then show your journey, show your intellectual evolution. Okay, I discovered this is my interest, and then I did this and that. I did these courses. I did these research projects to pursue my intellectual curiosity. And again, show, don't tell. Classic rule of writing: follow it every time. Don't tell me I'm a hard worker. Tell a story that you have worked really hard, like you have juggled multiple internships with your college work, with your research with the professors and everything. Explain why you are applying for this particular program, and define a clear future path about what you want to do in the future. And what kills a SOP? Again, I think I've raised over this, but one is over indexing on childhood stories. I didn't want to be an engineer when I was 6, 7 year old, and I think most of you uh, did not want to be an engineer. We grew up watching cricket, Bollywood, and we wanted to be stars, actors, and all those things. But maybe certain events happened in maybe in your teenage years or your adulthood or your college, which made you curious about what you want to do, what major you want to pursue. So write that. Do not write generic praise of university. I think everyone does that. They Google all the values about university and in just type it down in the SOP. It usually does not work well. And make sure that there's minimum overlap between your SOP and resume. Your resume tells what you have accomplished, but the SOP tells your journey. You can be vulnerable in your SOP. You can write about your motivations. So resume tells what all you have done. SOP is a metric which tells SOP maybe is a document which tells why you have done all of that, what impact it has created. And don't write generic stuff. I think it should be authentic. A lot of people are just uh, posting SOPs with GPT kind of framing and it doesn't work. It's pretty evident the admission committee is reading SOPs from like for like 20, 25 years and they know when it's written by an AI. Again, in resume, I think these are basic points, but I'll just like to graze over them again. One, quantify results. I do not want to know what qualitative impact you have made. Tell me about the percentage improvements, the improvements in time. How much money did you save, or did how much revenue did you rake in? Which scale did you operate at? What kind of users you had? Highlight ownership. Maybe talk about project which you have done end to end, because that highlights ownership. People love that, companies love that, hiring managers love that. And then emphasize technical complexity. I think in resume you can be as technical as you want, because for the jobs you'll be applying for, people who will be reading your resume will be technically pretty well versed. Okay, talking about my application. So I think that's the standard approach. You have two easy universities. For me, it was Northeastern and ASU. Two mid universities, which were Colorado Boulder and NYU, and two ambitious universities, which were Columbia and CMU. And I got admits in all of them apart from Colorado Boulder. And I think that was partly because of the fact that I put a lot of work in my SOP, and I actually made sure that my LORs were strong. My professors and my mentors were writing strong LORs for me. And after that, uh, yeah, I got all these admits, and I was considering whether to go to Columbia or CMU, but again, staying in New York is extremely expensive. Columbia has much higher tuition rates, and I think in CS CMU is better ranked, so I chose CMU. That was the thought process behind it. But along with it, I think when I was preparing for GRE, I realized that I can just give CAT 2, right? And then I had admits from IIM Bangalore and IIM Kozhikode. But again, I had that clarity that I want to go for MS, and then I want to stay in the technical side of things for now, and that's why I went to CMU. And again, why CMU over other universities? So I think this is a screenshot from CS rankings. I think it produces the best kind of research, the highest quality research in terms of computer science, and I think that drew me to CMU. And again, the technical rigor, the ecosystem. If you come to CMU, you'll realize that there's a lot of research going around with robotics, AI. There are a lot of startups which CMU is incubating, and that drew me to it. And again, it's a brand in deep tech. For example, I think a lot of us chose BITS because of its brand name, right? And again, I think CMU was also a natural choice because of that. Again, talking about life at CMU, I'll say if you think life in BITS is tough, I can promise you that life at CMU would be tougher. There is intense workload, there's high velocity, and it's extremely competitive. But again, I think these are the kinds of environment in which you grow. BITS is right, and that's why people gain so much out of it, right? And if you think that you can have a good time in CMU, you definitely can. But I think it's pretty nerdy, geeky schools. We don't have a lot of parties. There are not a lot of social scenes, sports scenes. But I think if you want to really learn, it's a really good place to be in. And then coming to the internship game, I think I just recently went through that. I secured a couple of summer internship offers, and mostly I'll be in New York for the summer. But how I approached it is that you start early, the volume of applications matter, network smartly, and build industry relevant skills. And when I talk about that, I'll say there were certain projects which I did, and a lot of those projects got me the internship. So learn industry relevant skills. So I had a project on agentic RAG, and a lot of companies are implementing that right now. So if you have certain projects in your resume, companies will reach out to you. People say it's a bad market in US right now. I don't think so, but still a lot of companies are reaching out. But again, you need to have those industry relevant skills. And then beyond academics, I'll say life in US is pretty different from life in India. You have a lot of independence, but that comes at a cost. You need to do everything by yourself. There's certain level of cultural adjustment. So let's say when you talk to people in India, we have that habit of that we'll sugarcoat our feelings, we won't be open about things. Here people are very upfront and straightforward. Again, these are cultural adjustments that you need to do, but I think uh, all of this should be pretty easy for you. It I think uh, it won't take long for you to adapt to this culture. I don't feel it's hard. Again, coming to the third point, which is financial discipline, I think at some point you need to start budgeting because the tuition is high here in US. The costs of living are high, but if you ensure financial discipline for the first couple of years, it'll really pay you off for the coming years. And then again, the opportunity density, which was one of my major focal points of why I came here. Because when I was coming here, there were a lot of visa issues. Trump was putting tariffs left, right, and center. The visa adjustment, the visa appointments were blocked for 1.5 months, and there was a lot of backlog. A lot of people couldn't come here. But again, the reason was the opportunity density. As you can see, in AI, US has invested almost 40 times of what India has invested, right? So there's a lot of opportunity density. If you work right, if you play your cards right, things are going really well. We are living in exciting times. And again, I think that was pretty much it about my journey. If you have any questions, you can maybe drop it in the chat box or whatever Google Form link you have. And I would love to connect with most of you. If you have any questions, just shoot it to me and I'll answer them. And that is pretty much it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anshuman, for sharing your experience and insights. It was really deep. We really appreciate you taking the time to guide students today. So, our second speaker today is Aryan Seth. Aryan is pursuing an MS in CS at UCLA. Over to you, Aryan.
Hi guys, can you hear me?
Yep, you're audible.
All right. Okay, so how do we share? Yeah, so what are you optimizing for? My name's Aryan. I'm doing my master's at UCLA, graduated from BITS this May. Most of the questions that you probably have about grad school revolve around a very central theme and a central problem, which is what are you optimizing for? Because once you know the answer to that question, you'll pretty much figure out all of the problems related to your masters and what they optimize for and how they evaluate you and what you need to show in order to get through. But pretty much the main aspects of like an MS application are your GRE, your TOEFL, your GPA, your essay requirements, which you can Google. This is not really something that we will be covering. But things which don't vary and things which every grad school is going to talk about are a good reason to do grad school. Whether that's an MS or a PhD, you need to have a very strong reason. And this is sort of the matrix that I use to evaluate it, which is this a good? So, first of all, some of the reasons for doing grad school, in my opinion, are like you can do a job abroad, you want to do a job abroad, you want to move to the US or Europe or Australia or Singapore, and this is the easiest pathway in terms of a visa, and that's correct. If you're transitioning into a PhD, if you need an MS for that job type, or if you just want to explore, right? So let's first think about whether this is a good reason. Would you do the same job in India? If yeah, then you maybe need to reconsider what your priorities are for going to the US. If you're focusing on a career in software development and you're considering going abroad, your reasoning for it should not be to work to be in the US, unless that's like a very strong lifestyle priority for you. Because your job description isn't going to change much. It's going to be pretty much the same work that you do broadly, except you'll be doing it on cleaner streets and slightly more expensive houses. Um, Now let's talk transitioning into a PhD, right? So, are there better avenues to do research? Probably you could do like pre-doctoral programs or continue doing research at a better college somewhere else, including doing RAships in the US or in Europe, because an MS is expensive. Um, do you need an MS for that job type? Probably not anymore. I can't say for certainty, but most jobs are split between either a bachelor's and a master's and a PhD. Like there's no real market for a master's job anymore because most research specific jobs, the research scientist jobs, are probably taken up by PhDs or very, very like outstanding bachelor's students. And to explore. So that's the question is how much money do you have? Now, if you're optimizing for a job abroad, now this was trying to understand the reasoning behind it. Now we're going to think about how you optimize for that specific reason, right? Now, if you're applying to get into a job in the US, you need to ask if people in that college get the same job and how many people get that same job. And once you know if there are enough people, you can apply to that college, right? Because that solves your purpose of doing something. Or maybe you're looking for more high variance outcomes. Let's say you want to move to the US, do a master's in business analytics, and go into consulting, maybe. That's a higher variance outcome because fewer people will go into consulting, but the ones who do will go to top firms. So maybe you're optimizing for high variance bets. Ki, theek hai, maybe we'll go either we get to work at a McKinsey or we get to work at an EY, but we'll take the risk, right? And that's still a decent enough risk to take if you're up for that. Now, transitioning into PhD, something which is interesting is that programs do have opportunities to move directly into a PhD. So UCLA does, for example. And that makes life significantly easier because then your bar for getting in is a lot lower, especially for CS PhDs today, where you need very clear alignment on what you're working on and several publications before you can even think of applying. Or you have very, very specific research interests and you just optimize for that. Now, if you want to explore, it's a difficult thing to optimize for because you're just saying we'll go with the flow and see what happens. I don't want to do a job right now. And you need to consider geopolitical factors, which we'll get to shortly, but mainly a tricky decision to take. The easiest way to think about where you are now is if you want to do a job abroad, do you really care about that field enough to take a 2-year bet and whatever, 100K loan to do this? 100K is 80 lakhs, and that's roughly the amount it's going to cost you. I don't know about private unis, it's probably cost more, but UCLA is public and 50 to 60K annual tuition is normal for most schools in the US, unless you get like a scholarship, which is also very tricky. So do you really care about this beforehand, or do you know that you're going to care about this once you get here is something you need to think about. Transitioning into PhD, you need to be an expert. If you can't hold a conversation with someone who's an expert, then it's going to be very difficult in the current market to get into PhD programs. This is a very CS specific situation. I'm not speaking for other branches or avenues of research. And if you're exploring, you need to know what you've explored so far because you won't know what to look for. And what's interesting about grad school in the US is that it is very, very liberating. I'm taking a course on dramatics next quarter and thinking about how like interaction and AI ties into like cinema, which is weird if I'm being honest. What's it like at UCLA? So we don't have a formal clock tower, which is annoying. But the research is fun. It's way better than BITS. We have a lot more compute. I have more weekly check-ins with people who understand what they're doing than I did at BITS probably ever. This is specific to research, not to other things. It's an employer's market. Jobs are tricky. You won't always get a preferred job. You'll probably get a lot of offers if you like spam, which is what I did, and I didn't get a lot of offers then either. The caveat here is that it's not that bad if you're into startups, because this is probably the hottest economy for startups in like human history. There's more money flowing into startups than, there are governments with GDPs, I believe. So as you can imagine, there are a lot of jobs in startups, but your problem is that it's not a stable job. So you need to be very clear that you will most likely end up at a startup where your runway is a year and you might get fired at any point, which is a real problem. Now life, yeah, it's as the last speaker mentioned, it's a weird life. You do have to cook and clean yourself, which you get used to very quickly, surprisingly. And most of the people you meet, you're going to be colleagues first and friends second. Unlike undergrad and bits where sab dost hai, right? There is no real problems in life. Um, Here your colleagues first, which I guess is slightly more, it's slightly weirder than what you're used to. It's nice and exploratory, I guess. Like I said, um, you can do courses in pretty much anything. The CS courses themselves, not a lot of them are great, if I'm being very honest. Most of the stuff you can learn on your own. Like, I wouldn't do these courses for learning. I would probably do them to graduate, some of them. But there are some very interesting courses as well, which focus specifically on research areas. Specific to UCLA, we have like teaching courses and seminar courses, where seminars are just, a prof going through an entire field of research through a quarter by doing papers in every class. So we have a paper reading. We have to have an opinion on something else, which is based on that paper or that set of papers. And then we do presentations. So it's nice that way. Costs, yeah, you're probably doing tuition plus like $1,500 a month, probably more in expensive cities. So LA, New York, Boston, Chicago is going to be about this much or more. Actually, a lot more. The rent can be very, very expensive. But what's next, right? So, sure, grad school's tricky. It's exciting. You can do a lot of cool things. But big tech jobs are coming down in the US. So you do need to consider if stability is a big part of who you are, then it's probably not the best time to come here, especially with like visa situations and stuff. So what are you optimizing for, right? Again, you're optimizing for stability and a nice job and a nice life. Not the smoothest journey, at least for the first couple of years, because entry level hiring is now an issue. Outsourcing is a big deal and extremely common. Your friends in India who are a year or two into their jobs will probably have multiple competing offers. Like my batchmates who are at Amazon and Uber and Google now have like 4+ competing offers within the first 6 months of them starting their jobs. So you're probably going to have a great employee market in India right now, but it's not the best market here. Um, Startups pay well. They probably pay better than big tech right now, and I can talk more about that offline or like on a different channel of communication. And even if you're from Stanford, MIT, and Berkeley, you need to be at the top of your game. So even if you're like super cracked, it's not a given. Okay. And the last part of the slide was something that I was writing but didn't finish. Now what's needed to get in, right? So if you're looking to get into like a super cracked masters, I'm talking Stanford, MIT, Berkeley, Cornell, Princeton. Think of your best top three field schools, right? This is what it really takes, right? You're talking super ICG, nice college LORs, maybe like a nice intern. Um, and either you're going to be starting a nice PS or a thesis, or you're going to have done a thesis already and applying for grad school if you're applying straight out of college. And no real papers or deep interest is fine. Like this, and I'm talking super ICG like 9.5 plus types is generally the norm for top admits here. I was none of these. I got lucky. I had only one acceptance, by the way. I had 14 applications and one accept. So I am here purely on diversity quota. Um, but yeah, so cracked interns and papers, right? We're talking 2, 3 top tier papers, and it's like a straight PhD acceptance or a couple of nice papers and a fairly comfortable MS acceptance. Again, top tier MS, not as straightforward, need like very solid work. Or the second kinds of masters, which is maybe you're not doing a research master's or you don't care about research or doing a PhD eventually, right? You're focusing on, you have a broad sort of research or broad sort of work experience um, in different fields. Maybe you're doing tech for banking, or you're doing, I don't know, you're doing consulting and you don't necessarily want to do an MBA. You're earlier in your journey, maybe. So you want to do an MS in data science or business analytics, and then you're mainly focusing on your work experience or your broad range of experiences, which might have something to do with the field. Um, what does your SOP need to answer? And everyone has a different list for this. Why are you cracked? I'm like, sorry for being very, very blunt, but you need to describe why you're cracked. Some things that are a good step in that direction. What do you want to achieve long term? So if let's say we're giving you the opportunity to go work with work at Stanford with the world's best professors, right? People who are industry leaders and professors at the same time somehow. If you've heard of like recent developments, you would see that there are professors who are worth over a few $1 billion, and actively teach somehow. So you get to work with these people, right? And their ambitions are super large. They want to change an industry entirely, right? So if you're working in robotics, there are people who want to change or interested in robotics. There are professors who want to change the face of robotics and automation forever, right? Are your ambitions of the same league? What do you want to achieve in the next 10 years? And okay, let's say you want to achieve something great and you have like a specific vision for it. What steps have you taken towards this? If you like, for example, you work in electronics for solar cells. I don't know what that means, but if you have one very nice intern and an LOR and one very nice paper, and you have some opinions on what solar cells should look like in 10 years or what's the best way to deploy solar cells in some way, then that prof will care about your work and who you are because his ambitions align with yours, their ambitions align with yours. Now, why do you care about this MS? So, first is why are you correct? Second is why do you care about this MS? Is there a research alignment? Are there certain professors who you've worked with in the past or work in the same direction towards with? If not, is there coursework that you may be interested in? This is generally a bad answer for a research master's, but a very good answer for like a breadth focused degree. Because you can talk about very specific things that you want to learn. Give me go, whatever. I want to learn computer human interaction, and you have a very nice course on this. You have pioneering courses on vision, or you want to do something specific in research. And these 4 or 5 answers combined are generally enough. Last paragraph of your SOP. And lastly, you're spending 2 years of your life doing this, 2+ years of your life doing this. Would you be doing something interesting to the committee, to the admissions committee, if you weren't doing an MS? And you can't explicitly say this, right? So let's say you have a job offer at Google. You can't just be like, I have an offer at Google, but I'm just going to let you know this and flex about it. That doesn't work, right? You need to maybe mention in a subtle manner that, hey, I was working at this lab. And we were looking to extend this further, but I'm circumventing that for this now, right? Maybe a nicer way to say something over an email or in your SOP or somewhere in your application. And once you graduate, you have a vision. Like you do need to answer in your SOP as to what you will do after doing grad school. And most of the time, because of visa situations, you need to mention that you will come back to India and do something. And that something needs to be fairly lofty. Doing a job cannot be an answer that you put in a grad school MS, in a grad school SOP. What's the job market scene like? I had 300 applications, which led to 10 interviews. 50% of my batch does not have an FTE offer yet. The other 50 are internationals. So I will let you know what the stats. This is the stats from my batch. My batch is about 80 people. And this is what it looks like. Granted, we have 6 months, 6 to 9 months, depending on who you're asking to graduate. So most people will get done with it. My senior batch, and the same stat goes for internships as well. My senior batch has all mostly gotten jobs. I think it's like 80 or 85 jobs, and I think the other 5 are doing something else. But that's what it looks like right now. And yeah, that's pretty much all from my end. How long have I been talking for?
I guess 15 minutes.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Thank you,
That
Aryan, for
when
sharing.
when are
Sorry,
questions?
it will be at the end.
All right, cool. Thanks.
So, thank you, Aryan, for sharing your experience and advice with everyone today. So, our next speaker is Sai Kartik. Sai is currently pursuing his MS in Electrical and Computer Engineering at UW Madison, a globally reputed institution known for its strong engineering programs. He'll be sharing his experience applying to graduate programs, preparing his profile, and transitioning to graduate studies abroad. Please join me in welcoming Sai Karthik.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes, Sai, you are audible.
Okay. Let me just present my screen here. Okay. Cool. So you should be able to see what I'm presenting now. Okay. So I'm going to talk about how my experience was like starting from BITS application to grad school and all of that. But I will just preface this by saying all of this is personal to me, and this is what I have experienced. Like the other two speakers I've mentioned before, they had their own experience, they had their own way of navigating this, and they're also from CS. And so this is like a very very different perspective of how I had to navigate the ECE side of things, and some of the reasons I wanted to do grad school and all of that. And so basically I had to ask myself why I wanted to do an MS in the first place. My main reason was just motivation, because like studying in bits just made me want to do more of specifically embedded systems. And so I wanted to dive deeper into that, and uh, that just the motivation was simply what drove me to do an MS. And that's one thing I would say to you guys, like if at all you want to do a master's, especially in ECE, if you do not have the motivation for it, like absolutely don't do it. Like there is no two ways around this. Like if you're not motivated, you will simply feel like it's hell, and you will just not be able to do it. But other reasons to do an MS would be like if you want to get into research, or you want to build some value to your profile, like tag on another degree, which is almost always helpful in the EC industry to those who know it. And coming to building a strong profile for this, I will be flat out honest with you guys that CG wasn't such a huge factor for me. I applied with a 7.1 CG, and I still got in. Oh no, like obviously the other colleges I applied to were like very ambitious apart from UW Madison, but like CG plays some role in it, but it's not the end all be all of things. Like the other things could include like your relevant work experience and stuff. And so like having more work experience is always a better thing when you're applying to masters. Like one of my batchmates, he has like 8 years of work experience, and then he came here to do a master's. And so like it's not really a big deal if you think that, oh, maybe I'll work 2 years and then do a master's. The important part is you should know you want to do it, and then you'll eventually end up doing it. It doesn't matter when you do it. Coming to your SOP and stuff, like you should have that down. Like this should be very organic, and it should come from within you. Like you should be writing this on yourself. I cannot emphasize this enough. And the other speakers have already told how to build a very solid SOP. I'm not going to repeat and regurgitate points again. But LORs is also something you should keep in mind. Like you should stay in touch with the managers that you work in PS, or like the profs who you did like SOPs under, that they will most definitely help you get LORs. And it only works if you're like in touch with them. And so for application strategy, at least this is what I followed. This was what worked for me. Was I tried to get the LOR sorted as early as possible, because in my experience, the profs I had to work with were, I would say quote unquote lazy in a way, where I had to keep reminding them multiple times to get things done on time. And even then, one of my profs submitted the LOR, I think a week or 2 weeks late after the deadline even. And so that was a little bit of a mess. So I would say get your LOR sorted first, get it out of the way. But that's just one thing you can do in parallel with shortlisting what programs you want to do. Like this is like a general strategy, safe, target, ambitious, and like research. Absolutely go deep into research with the universities that you want to, eventually end up doing grad school in, right? Like, because you can't just simply say, oh, I'm going to go to Stanford and do CS. Like, you can think that, but when you say I want to do CS, like, what do you mean? Like, what courses will you take? Which profs will you be working under? What research topics will you eventually end up pursuing? Like all of that, you should have a very clear plan ahead of what you're doing, because otherwise it's going to be very hard for you to manage things once you get into the program itself. And then the next step is to like check GRE and the TOEFL requirements. I think almost all colleges have a TOEFL requirement. Again, it depends on the college, but GRE is, as far as I'm saying, pretty optional. But it doesn't hurt to put it on your profile if you get a good score. So we have that balance, and tailor your SOP to the specific college you're applying to. Like maybe one section of the SOP you can just tailor to, what you're excited about working in that college for, like what maybe some clubs or teams that you're interested in participating in, some profs research that you're interested in picking up, stuff like that will, add some brownie points to your SOP. So you can keep that in mind. As for the academics part, most definitely not the scene as it was in BITS. It's not like, midsems are in 1 week, so we'll start like the day before and we'll just cram all the syllabus through the night, right? Midsem and then sleep the next day. It's absolutely not like that. So do not think you're stepping into a very easygoing academic environment. There's going to be like tests, quizzes, especially again, all this is just for like ECE courses. There's going to be surprise tests, quizzes, assignments, projects like every other week. So be prepared. Another thing, again, 0% attendance is a given in most US universities, I believe. But again, it's the same scene with BITS, right? If you don't go to classes, there is absolutely no point. Like you're not going to learn anything out of it. So definitely do that. Like you should talk to the profs, TAs in the office hours, and like that'll only help you better your understanding and like research opportunities. Because like colleges here have a very open attitude and they treat you like you know what you want to do in life. So unless you take that initiative and like go to profs and say, hey, I want to work on this with you, no one's going to reciprocate back. No one's going to, recognize you even. So you would have to pick up and like put out so much effort on your own to make yourself known to your profs and peers and all of that. So that's how like the academic reality is over here. It's just so freeing in a way. Like you can cherry pick and choose what to do, or you can be like very broad and do like every single course over the field. So it's pretty open-ended, I would say. Coming to like the financing part of it, like you can either finance your entire thing, tuition and living expenses using your personal funds. You could take a loan. Like all of this depends on you. You could also do like a part-time job with the university. Sometimes you'll have like a TA and RA position that's open. Sometimes they'll fund your entire tuition, or some of them give you a stipend. In my case, it was a stipend scenario. So if you were a TA, you'd get a fixed amount of stipend per month. And that can help you cover your living expenses like very fairly well. So yeah. And especially in Madison, it's not as expensive as New York or Cali cities. So like I would say like obviously rent is expensive. It's still a college town, but other living expenses it's just not as extravagant as the big cities. Coming to lifestyle, this again, so the college here is like very integrated into the city itself. And so it's very open and you have like a better social life. And that is something you will very quickly learn to prioritize, once you meet enough friends, which please make friends if you ever go to colleges here. And again, you can only pick from studies, social life, or sleep. So you can only pick 2 out of 3. Like you will absolutely not have time for the third. So pick your preferences, set them right. And having a routine like really, really helps. So again, because at this point, you will have to like cook, clean, go to classes, maybe do a part-time job, like chill out with friends, do homework. You'll have like 15 different things on your plate. And then like juggling all of them at the same time can be like very hectic. And so you would have to come up with like a routine for yourself to, kind of chill and figure out what you want to do. and definitely make friends, explore the city you're in. I still haven't explored my entire college campus. Yes, like there will definitely be lore hidden uh, in the college. There's a lot of things to know about it because the universities here are like pretty old and stuff. They're like from the 1800s, and so there's definitely things to find out, places to go, people to meet. And so, like lifestyle here, I would say is a pretty important point of college life. Um, and if you want to talk about like the timeline for fall application stuff, have your SOPs ready. And this is like uh, a fall application, and so deadlines will be around December to January mid. And so have your GRE TOEFL ready by October end, and then have your LORs and SOP ready by like October end to November mid. So because then you'll have some buffer time to kind of edit your SOPs or do something with it. But ideally, the earlier the better. Don't sit on applications for too long. The earlier you can finish all of this, the better for you. And again, just a final point of miscellaneous stuff is keep deadlines. Deadlines are very important. Whether or not they're present, you should keep some for yourself. Like mentally put a deadline for yourself saying, hey, I'm going to finish my SOP on so and so week. I'm going to be done with GRE by this week. And so that will help you keep yourself on track. Like it will, and I think it's very important you do that too. Because again, you're trying to mentally fix yourself a routine from beforehand itself. So it's easier when you actually move there. And researching the colleges and SOPs for the SOPs is also very important because then you can add in, because the more you research about the college, the more points you have to add to your SOP of what is interesting, what you find interesting, and that'll make your SOP even more organic. And so I feel that is a very important point to do is absolutely research what you're trying to do, and like it has to be very natural. And if you have no motivation to start with, it's okay. Like give it a while. Just step back for a bit. It's not the end of the world if you don't do a master's. Like at least in the triple E industry, like you can still get a job with a bachelor's. It's not the end all be all that you have to get a master's, but it is definitely helpful. So, and it's even better if you go into studying masters with some work experience in hand, because then the courses come a little more easier to you. You will understand what's going on. So that is something I would definitely recommend. So yeah, that is all I have to say from my side about the job opportunities and stuff. I'll be happy to answer those questions at the end of the session. Thank you.
Thank you, Sai, for those valuable insights and for sharing your journey with us. Our final speaker for today is Girinath Ravichandran. Girinath is currently pursuing his MBA at the Kellogg School of Management, one of the world's top business schools. He'll be sharing his journey towards pursuing an MBA, including how he built his profile, approached applications, and prepared for business school. Please join me in welcoming Girinath Ravichandran. Thank you.
Hi guys. So let me just share my screen. Okay. Just a fair warning. I have a problem with my slide share. So the screen share just automatically gets cut off in some time. So if that happens, it might happen a little often. So if that happens, please let me know, and I'll reshare it. So is this are the slides visible?
Yeah, these are visible.
Okay, perfect. So I'm Girinath Ravichandran. You can call me Giri. I'm going to talk about my journey from BITS to Kellogg MBA program. So the focus area of this presentation is going to be what pointers can you remember to get into an MBA program in the US specifically. This is this is my ID. I was a thesis student, which is interesting because I ended up doing an MBA at the end. And this is my LinkedIn. I did a search specifically for my name, probably the only account, so you can just like type it out. Or I've also added the ID. And this is my email. I'll circle back to this after my presentation. So if anyone wants to note it down, you can. Starting with what my profile was in short, given that we're running out of time, I'll try to keep this as short as possible. And you can reach out to me offline for any questions. So to start off with profile, I was a computer science undergrad from Pilani campus. CGPA was 8.75. I chilled a little too much, so I'm super happy with what I got. But of course, try to get even more for sure. Would definitely help either MS or MBA for sure. And then my PS1 was at IGCAR, Indira Gandhi Center for Atomic Research. Not so sure if it's still on the list. And PS2 was basically a thesis at the University of Strasbourg. I'm quite sure some people are still applying to this. This school, I worked on some deep learning computer vision research at that time. This was in 2020. After my third year, my summer internship was at Microsoft in software development. I converted it to full time, stayed there, and moved to a hybrid PM role. Spent most of my capacity as a PM and some as an SDE. So this was 5 years of my life, which is a huge chunk. Probably makes me the oldest in this whole call. Probably I'm 27, running 28. I also founded a nonprofit with my family. So this is called Royal Center Foundation to support access to quality education for underserved children. In short, I think what stood out from my profile was leadership experience, which came out of two things. One is this PM part, and then how I led as an SDE for different projects, and also this nonprofit part. So these are great. And I would say, since you're already in college, you have a lot of time. So if you want to try out building some startups, it's obviously super fun. And also you have a lot of time in hands with not so strict attendance policy. So go for it. That would add a lot to your resume. And why did I do my MBA? So I wanted to, first of all, move away from engineering to a more strategy oriented role, and also wanted some time off to explore entrepreneurship. I, of course, did not do that in my undergrad. Huge mistake. So taking this time for that, and also want to, as a backup, transition into PM in tech in the US. And of course, pivoting geography is quite hard these days in big tech. So this is another way for that. And I wanted to stay around AI, which is why I picked this MBA AI program. Of course, there are a lot of bits in here actually, like 2025 of us across the 2 years. But there are other reasons why I came here. It's super collaborative. Currently, I think it's ranked number 1 according to US News in the world. And pretty good PM placements or anything in tech, like strategy or ops or whatever role it is. MBA slightly earlier graduation date, so I can join my job a little earlier. So I also considered that. And Chicago is like just 40 minutes away, an amazing city. And these are my other admits. Kellogg is already covered. So CMU Tepper, Stern, UCLA Anderson, and I wanted a US based education system. So I just applied to ISB in India. I got in, but I did not go for it. So moving on. So GRE versus GMAT. Again, you can easily find this, but consider this as inside information that GMAT is slightly more traditional and it is still more preferred. So if you have a good GMAT score, definitely apply with that. But GRE is also growing in acceptance. I had a good GRE score, slightly better than my GMAT percentile. So when I used this, and take the exam as early as possible. If you're applying in round 1, which is the first round, it happens very early for MBA, around early to mid-September. So definitely get done with your tests very early, before April of that year. It's got to be pre-calculated pretty well, and also make sure you have enough time to take a reattempt if your score is not great. And I had 5 years of experience. 4 to 5 is the sweet spot. Yeah, this is like a poor attempt at using AI to generate a picture to show this. Did not turn out great, so we'll skip that. And how to shortlist schools. Think of these 5 things. These are the most important points in my opinion. Career alignment. Does the program place you into the target role industry in good numbers? Location advantage. Got to be around a good city. Definitely will help. The brand and network is huge for MBA specifically, because networking is one of the most important skills you learn here, and that's going to take you a long way as MBA grads. So definitely look at the brand, ranking, network, etc. It does make some difference. And yeah, tech placement strength, because we're all coming from engineering backgrounds. A lot of you might be interested in tech, but of course, if you want to go into strategy, if you want to go into consulting, by all means, like check that. Kellogg is in fact one of the strongest places for consulting too, in the world. So yeah, and cultural fit. Like you've got to talk to the students. Each B school has its own kind of nuanced culture. So and vibes. And of course, all B schools are very social. So I've got to spend a lot of time going out and spending time with people in social settings. So got to definitely make sure the vibe check happens. And yeah, for SOP and letter of recommendations, okay, sorry, it's a little jumbled, but yeah, definitely like think of why you want to do an MBA. Spend a lot of time on this because once you get a good answer to it, you're going to use that for many schools. So this is like super important. Same with leadership stories. Unlike maybe MS, here leadership stories are super important. So wherever you've led any initiative, even that counts. And if you can get out of your way and do some social impact leadership, 100% going to help you a lot. And start early and try to target round one applications. And yeah, definitely hire an MBA consultant. You could use someone in India. I used an Indian agency called the Red Pen, but yeah, do your research and go for a good agency. And for LORs, yeah, because MBA needs a lot of work experience, you've got to be old like me. So so you can generally like prefer getting a recommendation from a direct managers because they know your work very deeply and have worked very closely with you. Even if someone is like a VP, if you're working at a startup, even C-suite, still might not matter as much if they did not work closely with you. So this is super important for MBA recommendations. And yeah, give some context to recommenders. Don't give the entire script, but of course, help them remember some stories. So that's like a small pointer. And for resume, again, just 5 small things to focus on. Leadership stories and impact should be quantified. Again, the previous speakers mentioned it for MS. Here, it's very important too. A little small nuance here for MBA is don't make it too technical. Make it as generic as possible that anybody could understand it. So that's how it should be written, each and every point in your resume. And try to showcase cross-functional work, collaboration, working with people, initiative beyond job, which is what is assigned to you. So what did you go above and beyond that, and the role description. And finally, any social impact work is a huge bonus. And academic work, yeah, so MBA is super interesting. A lot of discussions in class. People keep talking all the time. It's not just a prof giving like a one-way lecture. There's a lot of interesting discussions. People come from very diverse backgrounds. People come from consulting background, like healthcare, sports, whatnot. So it's like very diverse. So the academic discussions are the most interesting thing to me. And no grade disclosure policy is another B school thing. So anybody who's going to hire you, they don't ask for your grades, and you don't need to give them, and it's accepted. So going to class, getting a good grade, all on you. So if the class is interesting, people go to class. But the interesting part is at Kellogg, the profs are like so established that mostly it's like a full class. People generally don't skip classes. And yeah, great faculty, partners at McKinsey, like people who worked in top positions at Fortune 500 companies and have ties still there. A few Nobel laureates, Northwestern, another great thing just about this university. And of course, a lot of research opportunities in finance, economics, leadership, if you are at a B school also. It's not just about getting a job. Yeah, this is the placement rate. The cost is very high, I know, but the loan will cover it. And in 3 to 4 years, people do repay. So that's how it works generally. And yeah, so scholarship, definitely think about it seriously. These are just ballpark numbers that I used as some kind of a pointer for myself, but feel free to take your own. And yeah, so 30 to 40K is okay. Pick the better MBA school in terms of ranking and brand. But if the decision goes beyond like a limit, definitely think more about it, because the market is not super great for sure. So yeah, definitely consider scholarship. And yeah, just the last few things, lifestyle and cultural adjustment. Yeah, the US is different. People are different. We speak the same. We can speak English, but definitely culturally people are different here. Take some time, have some patience, and gotta cook and manage logistics for yourself if you want to save money and maintain your health. Yeah, MBA is very intense, very hectic. So definitely focus on fitness too. And time management is something that you'll automatically learn as a B school student. And this is even applicable for Indian B schools. And the last slide is about general advice to summarize things. So build LOR relationships early. So make sure you develop a rapport with your managers. It's going to be incredibly helpful. And finish this 2 years before the application also, that's still okay. Have enough time to take re-attempts and get a good score. Start networking as early as possible, because referrals also help you get into a good B school. So if you have a good rapport with somebody who's studying there, it's going to help you get in easier. And also interview prep once you get shortlisted for internships here or full-time jobs here. That also needs some insider insight, and interview prep for B school also needs some insider insight. And people can be super helpful here at Kellogg. So definitely start networking early. Going to be very, very beneficial, especially for B schools. And a few small common mistakes to avoid. Yeah, don't apply without clarity. Don't make it too generic. Again, repeating what previous speakers mentioned, starting SOP too late. 100% like introspection is the most important thing here. So think hard from maybe April or May of the application year. And yeah, storytelling should be very, very strong. And your leadership abilities should come off the stories, no matter what story it is. And yeah, networking, again, very important for B schools. Talk to people, they can influence the admission decisions. So talk to as many people as possible. And they also give you inside information that you can use in essays, write specific things in the essays to show interest. And showing interest in the school is very important for the admissions process. So yeah, so that is basically it. So I know I touched upon things in a very broad level. Please feel free to reach out to me. As I mentioned, I got admits into many other schools, so I'd love to generally help out on MBA admissions. And yeah, if anyone wants to take note of my LinkedIn or email, feel free to. Yeah, that's all from my side.
Thank you
Yeah.
so Thank you so much, Girinath, for sharing your valuable insights and experiences. So we'll now begin with the Q&A session, where our speakers will address questions submitted by participants through the Google form. I'll start with the question one by one. I request our speakers to kindly share their perspective on the questions received. Uh, so the first question is like to all the speakers, is that somebody wants to ask about like the masters versus placements, and like what made you take that choice, and how difficult is it to get into masters after working for a couple of years, like compared to straight doing it straight out of college.
I'd like to answer the second part of that question. Uh, the it's I would say, at least from my experience, it is much easier to get a master's after work experience than going straight into masters. Uh, and I'm saying this because I personally went straight into masters directly after I graduated, and it is turning into a slight problem later in the fact that it is harder to get jobs after doing a master's because you didn't have work experience to begin with. So I would definitely get work experience before doing masters, at least 1 or 2 years. Yeah.
Well, I'd say again, it depends. What kind of masters are you looking to do, and what's your immediate optimization scope? If you're looking to do research or anything on a researchy front, a job's probably not going to cut it for you unless you're doing like a pre-doctoral program or a research program or something which is very, very hands-on sciencey or very, very hands-on engineering researchy, if that's what you're going for. If you're looking for like a broad degree, then I guess having a lot of work X is good. But if you don't have a vision for yourself immediately or like a vision for an idea, probably best to do a couple of years of working. And the versus placements bit has a bit of a connotation to it, because if let's say you have a few years of work experience and then you do a master's in a non-business administration field, like not an MBA or not an MSBA or something, you probably will be considered a new grad. So after 3 years of working, you won't be given and you won't be treated at a 3 years of work experience person. You'll be treated like zero. So that's sort of the trade-off that you make for an easier acceptance.
Okay, so the next question is: do research internships help your master's application? Can one manage to take part in both research internships and PS1 and 2, and like how?
Okay, could you repeat the question?
So, do research internships help in master's application? Can one manage to take part in both research internships and PS1 and 2?
I mean, you don't necessarily have to do a PS. You can just do a research internship instead. I don't get the question.
Like, first part of the question is that are they really helpful in master's application?
Yes. Like
Okay,
that's the best answer I can give you.
and like, can one manage like to take part in both research internships? Like, alongside, can one manage PS1 and RI together?
Okay, so let's start by quantifying what an RI means. There are classes of RIs, and we often delude ourselves into believing we're doing a lot of good work when we're not. I'm very guilty of this myself. So there are classes of RIs. The worst class of RI is when the prof that you've reached out to in the US is saying we'll do remote work, unpaid, and you communicate through a PhD and not directly to me. You will probably not get your name on a paper. And even if you put it in your resume and the prof hasn't given you an LOR, they're going to be very suspicious about it and might even ask you. So let's say you did like Media Lab for 2 months and the prof hasn't given you an LOR in your application process, is a red flag, as you can probably imagine, right? Second class is they pay you, but you communicate through a PhD. Third class is they pay you, they're willing to fly you out, and you work with the prof. So if you were, and if you're doing this in India, then the same sets apply, right? If you can get the best class of an RI and somehow do it alongside your PS1, which you should always make online and never do an offline PS if you're in CS, then it works. Then it's helpful.
Okay. Anybody else would like to answer?
I don't have an opinion on this because I did a professional master's, so I have nothing to do with research.
Oh, okay, no worries. Moving on to the next question. The next question is that asked by a third year dual-eyed student. So, as a third year dual degree student planning to pursue an MS abroad and eventually move overseas, he's uncertain about how to best utilize his upcoming summers. Should he prioritize SI preparation to secure an SGE role and potentially gain 1 to 2 years of industry work experience before applying, or he should commit to a full-time 2-month offline research internship to strengthen his academic and research profile for a master's application?
Tell में कौन सी SI लगती है और RI कहाँ पे है?
He's asking that he's in his third year dual degree, like 5 years degree student, and he'll be having his summers free in the upcoming
Okay, so
May,
whether you want to
May
do
and
an RI
July.
or not.
He's asking that whether he should do an RI that would help his application for masters, or whether he should like prep 2 months for the SI internship season.
I guess the question is, do you think you can prepare in 2 months while doing it? I mean, this is how do I answer this question? आप कर सकते हो तो दोनों कर लो. इतना मुश्किल नहीं है.
Yeah, I think I
I
understand
mean, I don't get whoever has asked the question, the answer is if you can do both, do both. If you can do one, if you want to do a job, do a job. If you don't want to do a job, don't do a job. Do an RI.
Okay, so moving on to the next question. How many LOR? Sorry?
Quick thing on that. If as a dualite, isn't it optimal for you to do a double PS?
It can be done, but still many people like prefer to
Yeah, I mean,
go
this
for
is like a very bit specific thing that you navigate, right? कि उस साल SI better है या placement better है या PS better है. RI की कितनी
yeah.
वैल्यू है? मतलब अगर आप RI ट्रिपल IIT हैदराबाद करने जा रहे हो तो maybe not under the best prof if that's like the thing. But if you're going to like Europe, of course, जाओ घूम के आओ.
Okay, so moving on to the next question. How many LORs do we need specifically from professors? And let's say the student wants to do a study project in robotics. How can he apply? But he wants to apply for an MS in CS. His project stays relevant or not?
I didn't understand the question. Can you repeat? His project is in robotics. He wants to apply for an MS in CS.
Correct. So उसका robotics का budget is valid or not?
वैलिड का मतलब क्या होता है?
मतलब relevant है
ये पूछ रहा
कि
पूछ लेना, मतलब कितने 20 लोग हैं इस कॉल पे.
हाँ मतलब मैं नहीं पूछ रहा. This has been
Well,
asked by the
if the
student.
person's on the call, please feel free to like ask. ऐसे I don't think it makes a massive difference. Probably easier gives more context.
Actually, like we have like disabled their access because of unnecessary disturbance.
That's the sack I know and love. But okay, to answer, it depends if you're what depends on what in CS, right? If you're doing a professional master's, it doesn't matter. It's all valid.
And how many LORs would you need, like from the
You need
professor?
3 total, at least for MS programs that I applied for. 2 need to be academic, 1 can be professional.
And for what I applied, like almost everywhere that I applied to needed 3, and it could be anything. Like could be 3 professional or 3 academic, like just 3 LORs.
Yeah, 3 is I think the accepted number. I think there are a couple of programs that have 2 LORs. But
Yeah,
program specific,
3
please research it. It's not a
3
blank.
is definitely the sweet spot. Like if you have 4, even better.
Okay. So, like moving on to the next question, like does opting for a thesis rather than internship or PS2 would make the application of master stronger, or like the vice versa case?
Much stronger. Doing a thesis under a professor who's decently known in any field makes it much stronger, and I think that's probably why I got in at all. Again, research specific as an asterisk. Probably on a professional program, I think Sai will give more context, but I'm guessing it shows points on diversity and slightly better of a research inclination. But for a research master's, it's a direct thing. You should do it if you can.
For sure, for sure. So if it's a proper research master's or you want to do a thesis, like 100%, no doubt. But again, professional masters, it really doesn't matter what you're trying to do, because I did not do a thesis, and like I think I did 4-1 PS, and then immediately I think that during my PS was when I started my applications. And I was only looking to do a professional masters anyway because I was not interested in research. So I would say PS helped me better in that case because I was able to get some industry experience.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
also, if you don't do a PS and you don't have a job offer either through an SI or through like placement, then you're a little screwed, right? Because you don't have a backup. So that's a consideration. Like if you don't have a job offer, or if you're not confident of getting a job offer in SEM 2 placements and you're doing a thesis in SEM 1, then it's tricky. Also, if you're getting WorkX before applying for a master's, then doing a thesis is immaterial because that was 2-3 years ago, right? That it's obsolete now. So
Okay.
thesis is very optimal if you're applying immediately after undergrad.
Okay, thank you for the response. So, like moving on to the next question, like how competitive is it to secure scholarships that fully or significantly fund a master's program abroad?
Very, like now I can say with near certainty that you are either like top 0.1% or very lucky to get scholarship. You can get some RATA stuff, depends on the college and is very college specific. Like I know Georgia Tech has a lot of RAs and TAs that are given out. I think CMU does as well. UCLA does not. So we don't have a very good RA-ship or TA-ship policy for master students. So you most likely won't get funded through school. You will have to pay tuition.
And anything that Sai would like to mention?
I would like basically the same. Scholarships are very, very hard to get. Even for RATA positions, they're very slowly closing down at UW Madison. I hear UT Austin is just hands them out like candy. I don't know how true that is. This is just what I heard. But again, those don't like cover your tuition, but they just give you like like a stipend amount that can help you for your living expenses. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very college specific. I agree with Sai on that. Like UT Austin deta hai, Georgia Tech deta hai. Most nahi dete.
Okay, so like it's a bit, I think, choosy.
No, I think
So
it's a research specific thing, right? So you have to do your research on the program. And if you're optimizing for RATA, then your research should indicate that RATA is available here and then do that.
correct. Okay. So
Agreed.
the next question is addressed for Aryan. The student wants to ask about MS versus PhD. Like, why did you choose masters over PhD?
Oh, me, I wanted to do a PhD. I still sometimes think about it because it's like 5 years of of like freedom to do whatever you want, and you're not constrained by real problems of capitalism mostly. But my reason was that the opportunity cost of not being in an AI startup in SF right now was too high.
Okay.
Yeah, and
And
I can't. The 5 years of the PhD don't justify the opportunity cost right now.
correct. So, like following up on the answer for the WorkX thing, like this question is for both of you. Like, if a person wants to do an MS in AI, like what kind of roles would help in like the MS application? Also, like on the other hand, are there any roles which would be disadvantages for the MS applications?
Different programs value different things. So I know that there are certain programs at CMU which care more about your undergraduate performance. So I know the MSML program, for example, cares a lot about your research work, and the MSAI and innovation and MSAI and NLP require on-track work, but not necessarily research. So mostly stuff on WorkX, and things around those areas. But yeah, like your work alignment would need to matter to some degree. You should at least be doing software development if you're looking for an MS in AI. But anything, the order of hierarchy would be research scientist, research scientist, applied scientist, research engineer, software engineer, in order of
Uh,
priority, which is best for an MS in AI.
okay. And anything that I would like to mention?
No, I mean, I don't know what I can add from the AI part of things because I am absolutely disconnected from the field. But regarding work experience, I would say any relevant work experience is definitely a plus for your master's application. Like, if there is anything I learned over this journey, is that work experience is absolutely golden.
Okay. So, like, thank you for answering the questions. We have received many insightful questions, but unfortunately, due to time constraints, we may not be able to address all of them today. We'll also be hosting another Master's Talk session tomorrow at 4 p.m., like featuring speakers from other colleges. That brings us to the end of today's session. On behalf of SAC, I would like to extend our sincere gratitude to our speakers, Anshuman, Sai, Aryan, and Girinath, for taking their time to share their experiences and guide students. Thank you to all participants for joining us today. We hope you find this session helpful and informative. Have a great day ahead. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Good night.
Thank you guys. Good night.